A father wrote me and said that he had taken his 14-year-old son, Marcus, to shop in a hardware store. He said, quote, "On several occasions, I saw him look at one woman after another in what can only be called a sexual way. I'm a guy. I know what that looks like. It was summer, and several women did appear to be dressed for the beach, certainly inadequately clothed for standing around in a store. After we got back home, I talked to him when we were alone. I asked him if he remembered looking at the women in the store, and with a studied kind of casualness, he said, 'Sure, I looked at lots of people.'" Kids are good at avoiding the subject. Dad said, "You know what I mean." And Marcus looked down at the floor, proving that he did know what Dad meant. He just didn't want to talk about it. Dad said, "I'm not criticizing you. I'm just talking about this. You were looking at their bodies in a sexual way. It's quite understandable since many women dress in a way designed to bring attention to them in a sexual way. And your body is naturally becoming more sexual every day. So you would naturally be attracted to their appearance, their physical appearance." Dad waited a moment. He said, "Now, you probably wonder what to do next. You don't mean to look at women and to make them sexual objects, but the thoughts just happen, yes?" Marcus looked surprised, like he'd forgotten that his dad had ever been a kid or that his dad was a man. He said, "Yeah, that's what I was thinking, and the thoughts just come." Dad said, "If you continue to objectify women," that's what it's called, "the results won't be good for you or for your relationships. So I'm going to teach you how you can deal with these thoughts." Now, notice how brilliant this is. Dad isn't going, "You're a bad person. You're going to go to the hot place for this." No, he's acknowledging that this is entirely natural. Now, what do we do with these thoughts? First, Dad says, we can keep talking about them. When you have these thoughts, talk to me about them. Don't just entertain them by yourself. I understand them. I've had these thoughts. Marcus was surprised and said, "You?" Like, again, like he'd forgotten that his dad was a man. Dad said, "Yeah, me. I'm old, not dead. And I've learned that when you have unwanted thoughts that just pop into your head, you don't have to be trapped by them. Instead, you can simply remember what's true. The truth is powerful. One thing you know to be true is that I love you, and that feels pretty great." And Marcus is nodding because Dad has been following the principles in the parenting training. Dad continues, "On those occasions when you feel loved by me, you feel stronger and happier. You like it. When you focus on sex, it's exciting, but you don't feel as much of that solid, delightful feeling of being loved and cared for. It's harder to feel that. Thinking sexual thoughts, it's fun briefly, but it's not fulfilling in the long term. Big difference between exciting and fulfilling. Excitement goes away. Firecrackers go boom and they're done. As opposed to fulfilling, growing a tree. Come up with your own metaphor. It's not fulfilling to have these sexual thoughts, not ever. And you know that every person is lovable and worthwhile. And when you look at women sexually, you turn them into objects to be used. They stop being people. They stop being lovable and worthwhile to you. You can't have a genuine relationship with a woman while you're looking at her sexually. Marcus said, "And someday I'll probably get married, and my wife probably won't like me looking at other women." Dad smiled and said, "You can bet on that." Good insight, kid. On subsequent occasions, Dad talked about all this again with Marcus. If you think you can have a conversation with a kid about a subject like this, or any subject, loved, loving, responsible, once, and you're going to get it across, dream. So he talked about it again. And each time he did, Marcus understood it a little better and would ask more questions. There was no guilt or shame. Not once did Dad say don't. Not once did he say should or shouldn't. He just loved him and taught him. Dad pointed out that when we objectify any woman, we become less able to love everybody. While you're thinking sexual thoughts about that woman in the store, you will be less patient with your brother who's with you. We become more selfish, that's all. We walk off the path toward becoming loved, loving, and responsible. We're less happy. Marcus listened, and he learned. Now, of course, his thoughts and his eyes still sometimes wandered, but he had his loving father as a mentor to teach him and to be an example. He never saw his father's eyes wander, ever. And there aren't very many boys who can say that about their fathers. And he was able there, with his father's example and teaching, to avoid the objectification that nearly all men do with women. He also avoided the dangers of pornography. His father gave him a very valuable tool for living, happy living.